Right now, something is happening inside your body that most people over 60 do not even know about. Your bones are losing density, quietly, silently, with zero warning signs until the day something breaks. And when that day comes, life as you know it changes in an instant. The independence you worked your whole life to build can vanish overnight from a single fracture. Here is a number that stopped me cold when I first read it. 54 million Americans, half of all adults over the age of 50, are walking around right now with bones weak enough to fracture from something as simple as a minor fall, a sneeze, or bending down to pick up the grandkids. And 6 months after a hip fracture, only 15% of patients can walk across a room without help. 15%. That is not a statistic most doctors lead with, but it is one you deserve to know. Now, here is where this gets really interesting. And this is exactly why you need to stay until the very end of this video. While millions of Americans are being handed prescriptions and told that is the only answer, there are 9 plants, real plants you can grow right in your own backyard, that have been quietly proven by science to support and strengthen human bone tissue. Plants that have been used for centuries and are only now getting the scientific attention they deserve. And plant number 6 on this list has more calcium per cup than a glass of milk. Not a little more. More. There is also a plant coming up at number 5 that most experienced gardeners grow without any idea what it is actually doing for their bones. We are going to cover all 9 today, and at the very end, I am giving you a 3-plant bone-building tea recipe you can make at home from your garden with no special equipment and no expensive ingredients. If you are new here, welcome to Rooted Harvest. This channel is for people who believe that nature has answers that the mainstream conversation too often skips over. If that is you, go ahead and hit subscribe right now so you never miss what we put out each week. It means the world to this community. Now let us get into it. Plant number 1, kale. Before you scroll past because you have heard about kale 100 times, stay with me for just a moment, because what most people know about kale is only half the story, and the half they do not know is the part that actually matters for your bones. Yes, kale has calcium. But here is the thing that almost nobody talks about. Most calcium-rich foods have a hidden problem. They contain compounds called oxalates, and oxalates bind to calcium inside your digestive system and block your body from absorbing it. Spinach, for example, is loaded with calcium on paper, but the oxalate levels are so high that your body only absorbs about 5% of that calcium. 5%. You might as well be eating cardboard. Kale is fundamentally different. Kale has naturally low oxalate levels, which means the calcium in kale is bioavailable. Your body can actually use it. 1 cup of raw kale delivers over 150 milligrams of highly absorbable calcium, alongside something arguably even more important for your bones, vitamin K1. A study published in the journal Food and Function found that vitamin K1, found in abundance in leafy greens like kale, can significantly reduce bone fracture risk in elderly populations. Researchers found that just 75 to 150 grams of kale per day, less than 2 cups, can hit the protective threshold. And kale delivers vitamin C on top of that, which your body uses to build the collagen framework that keeps bones flexible and resistant to impact fracture. Kale is one of the most forgiving plants in the garden. It tolerates cold, it grows in pots, it bounces back after a hard harvest. Plant it in early spring or late summer, give it decent soil and water, and it will produce for months. Use it raw in smoothies, lightly steamed with olive oil, or baked into chips at low heat with a little sea salt. Your bones will thank you in ways a pharmacy bottle simply cannot replicate. Plant number 2. Stinging nettle. I know what you are thinking. Why would I grow something that stings me? But, hear me out. Stinging nettle might be the most nutritionally dense plant on this entire list, and once you understand what it contains, you are going to look at it completely differently. Stinging nettle is loaded with calcium, magnesium, silica, and vitamin C, D, and K all in one plant. That is not a supplement stack. That is a wild green that nature assembled for you. And these nutrients do not work in isolation. They work together in a cascade inside your body. Magnesium activates an enzyme that converts vitamin D into its usable form. Without enough magnesium, your vitamin D cannot do its job. And without active vitamin D, calcium cannot be properly absorbed from your food, regardless of how much calcium you eat. Stinging nettle delivers all 3 of those cofactors together, in the same plant, in their naturally occurring ratios. This is exactly the kind of thing doctors rarely mention, because it is not a pill. It is a weed. but traditional herbalists have been using stinging nettle for bone health and joint support for hundreds of years, and modern nutritional science is now catching up to what they already knew. Nettle loves moisture and partial shade, so that corner of your yard that nothing else wants to grow in, nettle will thrive there. Keep it contained in a raised bed or large pot. Steaming or briefly blanching removes the sting completely. Steep dried nettle as a tea for 10 minutes to draw out the minerals, or add young blanched leaves to soups and stews. Once you start using it, you will wonder how you ever went without it. Plant number 3, horsetail. This one surprises people every single time. Horsetail is one of the oldest plants on Earth, growing on this planet for over 300 million years, and what makes it extraordinary for bones is not calcium, it is silica. Silica, also called silicon dioxide, is a mineral almost nobody talks about in the context of bone health, but the science around it is fascinating and the implications are significant. Your bones are not just a hard calcium deposit. They are a living matrix of minerals layered onto a collagen scaffold. Think of collagen as the rebar inside concrete. Without strong rebar, the concrete cracks regardless of how much concrete you pour. And silica is one of the critical building blocks your body uses to maintain that internal collagen framework. Without enough silica, your bones can have all the calcium in the world and still be brittle and prone to fracture. Research published in the journal Biological Trace Element Research found that silicon supplementation improved bone mineral density in women with osteopenia, the stage of bone loss that comes before full osteoporosis. And horsetail is the most concentrated botanical source of bioavailable silica on the planet. Practitioners have noted that people with significant bone loss experienced measurable improvements in bone density after using horsetail consistently for a year or more. Here is something critical about how to prepare horsetail. You cannot just steep it in hot water. The silica is locked inside rigid plant cells and requires actual heat to release. You need to simmer it, not steep it. Bring dried horsetail in water to a low simmer and keep it there for 10 minutes. Then steep for another 10. That decoction method is the only way to get the silica out in a form your body can absorb. Horsetail grows naturally in moist shaded areas and is common across much of the United States. I want to pause right here and ask you something. How many of these first 3 plants are already in your yard right now, and you never once connected them to your bone health? Drop your number in the comments below. I genuinely want to know. And if you are just finding this channel, this is the kind of conversation we have every single week, so hit that subscribe button and come back for more. Plant number 4, red clover. Red clover is one of those plants most people walk right past without giving it a second thought. It shows up in lawns, fields, and along roadsides. For decades, the main conversation around it was as a cover crop or livestock feed. But there is a quietly growing body of science reframing red clover as something far more significant for human health, particularly for women over 60. Red clover is rich in isoflavones, natural plant compounds that behave similarly to estrogen in the human body. And this matters enormously because estrogen plays a direct role in bone density regulation. When estrogen drops after menopause, bone loss accelerates dramatically. That is one of the primary reasons women experience osteoporosis at significantly higher rates than men. Isoflavones can partially bridge that hormonal gap through plant-based means, and your garden is where that starts. A double-blind, randomized, placebo-controlled clinical trial, the gold standard in medical research, found that women taking red clover-derived isoflavones for 1 year experienced significantly less bone mineral density loss in the lumbar spine compared to women taking a placebo. And bone formations markers, the biological signals that show your body is actively building new bone, were significantly elevated in the group taking the isoflavone supplement. That is not folk medicine. That is a peer-reviewed clinical trial with measurable outcomes. Red clover fixes nitrogen in the soil, which means it improves the health of everything growing nearby. It attracts pollinators, grows in almost any U.S. climate. Dry the flower heads and steep them as a mild, slightly sweet daily tea. It is as low barrier as anything on this list. Plant number 5, moringa. And this is the one I teased at the beginning. Moringa is called the miracle tree in much of the world, and once you see its nutritional profile, that name starts to make complete sense. The leaves contain calcium, potassium, iron, magnesium, phosphorus, boron, vitamin C, vitamin K, and all of the essential amino acids. surpassing the nutrient levels found in carrots, oranges, bananas, and spinach, in a single plant. But here is specifically what makes moringa extraordinary for bones. Boron. Most people have never heard of boron in the context of their bones, but it does something critically important. It stabilizes and extends the half-life of vitamin D in your body. That means when you consume boron alongside vitamin D, the vitamin D stays active in your system longer, working harder, directing more calcium into your bone tissue. Moringa is one of the richest plant sources of boron you can grow at home, and moringa also contains magnesium, which activates vitamin D at the cellular level, vitamin K, which directs calcium into bone and away from soft tissue, and vitamin C, which builds the collagen framework your bones depend on. Moringa is not just one nutrient for bone health. It is the entire bone-supporting ecosystem wrapped in one leaf. No supplement combines all of this naturally. Research published 2025 in the International Journal of Medical Sciences found that moringa enhanced bone volume, trabecular thickness, and overall bone density in living studies, while positively influencing biomarkers for bone formation. A separate fermentation study found that processed moringa leaf increased its calcium content by nearly 2.4 times its original amount, showing the plant has even more to give than standard analysis suggests. Moringa grows best in warm U.S. climates, zones 9 through 11, but can be grown in containers and brought indoors during colder months anywhere in the country. Add fresh leaves to smoothies, dry and powder them into soups, or steep as a mild earthy tea. Plant number 6, collard greens. And here is the moment I promised you. According to Harvard School of Public Health, 1 cup of collard greens contains 357 milligrams of calcium. 1 cup of dairy milk contains 306 milligrams. Collard greens beat milk, and unlike spinach or Swiss chard, collards have a much lower oxalate burden, meaning your body can actually absorb what it is eating. But calcium is only the beginning of the collard story. 1 cup of boiled collard greens contains almost 800 micrograms of vitamin K. That is over 800% of the recommended daily allowance in a single cup. Vitamin K activates the proteins that direct calcium into your bones and keep it out of your arteries and soft tissues. Without sufficient vitamin K, calcium you consume is essentially unsupervised inside your bloodstream, and unsupervised calcium ends up in all the wrong places. Collard greens are a classic American garden plant, especially in the South, and they are one of the easiest cold-season vegetables you can grow. Frost-tolerant, winter production. Plant them in late summer and harvest straight through the cold months, when almost nothing else in your garden is giving you anything. That means bone-building nutrition flowing into your body through the exact season, when you are getting the least sunlight, and producing the least natural vitamin D. Saute them with garlic and olive oil, add them to bean soups, or use them as a low-carb wrap. Plant number 7, dandelion. Almost every American gardener spends real time and energy trying to get rid of dandelions, and the whole time, they are pulling up one of the most nutritionally powerful plants in their own yard. Dandelion contains calcium, vitamin K, and 2 nutrients for bones that almost never get enough attention: boron, which extends the active life of vitamin D in your body, and potassium. Potassium plays a direct role in neutralizing the acids in your blood that would otherwise leach calcium right out of your bones and send it through your urine. When your body is in an acidic state, which is common with diets high in processed foods, your bones become a calcium reservoir that gets quietly raided to restore your blood pH balance. Potassium helps shut that process down, and dandelions deliver it abundantly. Every part of the dandelion is edible. Young spring leaves are mild enough for raw salads. The flowers make a gentle, slightly sweet tea. The roots, roasted at low heat, produce a caffeine-free coffee alternative that many people genuinely enjoy as a morning ritual. And dandelions grow in every U.S. climate zone, every soil type, in sun and shade. If you have a yard, you already have dandelions. The only question is whether you are going to start using it. Plant number 8, alfalfa. Most people associate alfalfa with livestock feed, or the little sprouts on a deli sandwich. But alfalfa has a mineral profile that is genuinely impressive for bone health, and the research around its isoflavone content is increasingly hard to dismiss. Like red clover, alfalfa contains phytoestrogenic compounds including biochanin A and formanonetin. A comprehensive scientific review in the journal Nutrients found real evidence of beneficial effects of these isoflavones on bone health and osteoporosis prevention in postmenopausal women. And alfalfa pairs beautifully with nettle and horsetail in a combined daily protocol. Nettle delivers calcium and magnesium. Horsetail delivers collagen-building silica. Alfalfa fills in the mineral depth and phytoestrogenic support. Together, they cover the full picture of bone nutrition that no single plant can cover alone. Alfalfa fixes nitrogen in the soil, improving growing conditions for everything around it. Young leaves can go into salads or be juiced. Dried alfalfa makes a mild, clean herbal tea. And sprouts are one of the easiest things you can grow on any windowsill, ready in 3 to 5 days with nothing more than a jar, a rubber band, and a piece of mesh. We are almost at the end of the list. Stay right here because the next plant is the one most people will not see coming. And then I have the full bonus tea recipe ready to close this out. Plant number 9, rosemary. And I saved this one for last because it is the one that surprises the most people every time. Rosemary is sitting in kitchen gardens and window boxes all across America right now. Most people think of it exclusively as a seasoning for roasted chicken or potatoes. But rosemary contains a compound called carnosic acid, along with rosmarinic acid and several phytoestrogenic compounds that have been studied specifically in the context of bone resorption. Bone resorption is the natural process by which your body breaks down old bone tissue. When your body is healthy and in balance, bone breakdown and bone formation happen at roughly equal rates. The problem comes when resorption begins outpacing formation, which is exactly what happens as we age and hormone levels decline. Rosemary has been identified among plant species studied as osteoporosis management agents because its bioactive compounds appear to stimulate bone morphogenic proteins, the signals that initiate new bone formation, while simultaneously slowing the rate of resorption. That is a two-sided approach to bone protection in a herb. Most people grow purely for flavor. And there is another angle here that most people completely miss. Chronic inflammation is one of the most significant and underappreciated drivers of accelerated bone loss in older adults. Every inflammatory episode in your body produces biological signals that directly activate osteoclasts, the cells responsible for breaking bone down. Rosemary is one of the most potent, anti-inflammatory culinary herbs available. Using it daily in your cooking is one of the simplest, most accessible ways to reduce that invisible inflammatory burden on your bones without any effort or expense. Rosemary thrives in containers, tolerates drought, stays evergreen in mild climates, and needs almost no maintenance once established. Add it to everything you cook. Infuse it into olive oil and use it daily. Or steep fresh sprigs in hot water for a clean, aromatic tea with far more going on beneath the surface than anyone looking at this ordinary herb would ever suspect. Now here is the bonus I promised. The 3 plant bone-building tea you can make today from your garden. You need stinging nettle, horsetail, and dandelion. Here is exactly how to prepare it and why each step matters. Start with the horsetail. Put 1 teaspoon of dried horsetail into a small saucepan with 2 cups of water. Bring it to a gentle simmer and hold it there for 10 full minutes. This heat step is non-negotiable. The silica in horsetail is physically locked inside rigid cellular structures and will not release into the water without sustained heat. Skipping this step means you are pouring yourself a cup of hot water with exactly no silica benefit. After 10 minutes, remove from heat. Add 1 teaspoon of dried stinging nettle and 1 teaspoon of dried dandelion leaf. Place a lid on the pot and steep for another 10 minutes. Then strain it into your cup. Raw honey or a squeeze of lemon are both welcome. Lemon actually enhances mineral absorption. Drink 1 cup of this daily. And here is the single most important thing I want you to take away from this entire video. Add a source of healthy fat to whatever you eat alongside it. A drizzle of olive oil, half an avocado, a spoonful of coconut oil. Vitamins D and K are fat-soluble, which means your body literally cannot absorb them without dietary fat present. Every plant on this list contains vitamin K. But if you are eating these plants without fat in the same meal, you are leaving the majority of that vitamin K completely unavailable to your body. This is the absorption gap that most people are missing. And it matters more than which plants you choose. And if you can spend 15 minutes in morning sunlight each day, your skins will produce natural vitamin D3. That D3 works in partnership with the vitamin K from your garden greens to act as a precise delivery system, directing calcium exactly where it belongs, into your bones, not your arteries, into the bone matrix where it rebuilds density and strength from the inside out. 9 plants, all growable in American soil, all backed by real research. Available to you without a prescription, a copay, or a specialty health store. Kale, with its bioavailable calcium and bone-protective vitamin K1. Stinging nettle, the complete mineral cascade that activates your body's own calcium absorption system. Horsetail, 300 million years old and delivering the collagen-building silica almost nobody connects to bone health. Red clover, with a peer-reviewed clinical trial showing measurable protection against lumbar bone density loss. Moringa, extending the active life of your vitamin D while delivering the full bone nutrient spectrum in one remarkable leaf. Collard greens, beating dairy milk for calcium and delivering 800% of your daily vitamin K in a single cup. Dandelion, the weed you have been fighting that was quietly protecting your bones the entire time. Alfalfa, completing the mineral and phytoestrogenic picture that no single plant can cover alone. And rosemary, sitting right there in your kitchen garden, inhibiting bone resorption every single time you reach for it. I want to ask you one thing before you go. Which plant on this list surprised you the most? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one, and I genuinely want to know what landed for you today. And if someone you love is dealing with bone loss, joint pain, or just quietly aging and wondering what they can do, please share this video with them. What we do here at Rooted Harvest is completely free, and sharing costs you nothing. But for that, one person on the other end of your share, it could be a brief thing. If you are not subscribed yet, this is the moment. Hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and join this community of people who are choosing to take their health back into their own hands through the garden. Every single week we go deep on the plants, the science, and the wisdom that too many people never get to hear.